Oscar De La Hoya says he likes Canelo at 168 now after fighting at light heavyweight against Sergey Kovalev. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang, notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It definitely helps the channel. Now, Oscar De La Hoya, he was at the media day for Ryan Garcia, who has an upcoming fight. And he was asked some questions about Canelo. He says he's going to Mexico to meet with Canelo and his team and decide what's next. He said there's many options. He says he would hate to throw a name out there because there's no name that they've landed on. And he says Billy Joe Saunders, these are multiple interviews that he did yesterday, but he said Billy Joe Saunders, I don't know why people are saying he's the front runner because he's not necessarily the front runner. He also said that they offered Charlo, which is the first time we're hearing about it, Charlo some type of pretty good deal last year to fight, and allegedly someone on Charlo's team turned it down. That's what he's claiming. And I made an unpack video. Check that on the channel. We unpack coming to you live. Check that on the channel. But I unpacked that. Just check the video for my thoughts on that. But he confirms Canelo vacated the title he won and had for about 6 weeks, beating Kovalev. He says, and I quote, "He did vacate the light heavyweight title, but it doesn't mean he can't stay at light heavyweight. We'll see. Canelo, he has many options. 168, 160, just from my experiences of moving up in weight and then coming all the way back down to 147, I don't know if it would be a little bit difficult for him." He says, I think 168 would be a nice move for him. That's all up to his team. We will see what his team decides and go from there. So this is not confirmed. He says he has to obviously talk to the Reynosos and to Canelo to see how he also said that they know how his body is and how his body's feeling, probably closer than he does. So it's a decision that has to come through really all of them. My thoughts, listen, this is just ultimately not a good look for Canelo, just because people like to wrongly compare Floyd Mayweather's career to Canelo, which is laughable because they did different things. They came in different eras, accomplished different things. Canelo is a good fighter, yes, but to compare him to Mayweather, come on. And he had the opportunity to really take what Mayweather had worked for and beat him, and he definitely came up way short versus Floyd Mayweather when they actually fought. But beyond all that, they have two different careers. They've accomplished different things and different feats. Mayweather remained a pay-per-view star the whole Money Mayweather phase, and if he comes back, guess what? He's going to be on pay-per-view. Canelo, he's at a different route, and he's no longer on pay-per-view. He was on pay-per-view, and they actually, at the pinnacle of it, he had just beaten Golovkin. That was, if I'm not mistaken, his last fight. That was on pay-per-view. Then he signed to DAZN after HBO Boxing got out of the business, and they made the mistake of taking Canelo Alvarez off of the pay-per-view model, which was horrible because his star power has since dwindled. He's now waiting for UFC 244 main event to end so he can, initiate his main event, things of that sort. But other than that, it was a blunderous year for Canelo. Last year, some people said he was fighter of the year, but, I think that's politics. He beat Jacobs. The fight didn't live up to expectations to me. He came out looking really impressive and really sharp, but then he seemed to fade and fatigue in the second half of the fight, and Jacobs came on. So, that was that. And then the Kovalev fight was supposed to be negotiated earlier, and it went through all these hurdles, and Kovalev said he wasn't getting any money that he wanted and felt he deserved. And he said, if Jacobs got this much, then I definitely deserve this much for risking it all. And needless to say, the negotiations fell through, and Kovalev ended up fighting Yard in between, when he could have fought Canelo straight away, and that would have been better, because in that Yard fight, he was doing cool. It was competitive. Yard was doing really good, and then Yard ended up hurting him badly and nearly stopping him, to the point where Kovalev's own trainer says, if you give me another round like that, I'm throwing in the towel. So that is when Canelo decided to fight him. It's no mystery. We all watched the Kovalev fight. If you're scouting somebody because you may fight him, then you're probably going to check what they're doing. You're going to check their last performance. So if I seen it and I heard Buddy McGirt threaten to throw in the towel, then you mean to tell me no one on Canelo's team who was scouting Kovalev and just had failed negotiations that they were going to preclude or like resume afterwards? You mean to tell me they didn't see it? So of course they did. So they went into the Kovalev fight knowing what happened in the Yard fight, plus gave him very little time to rest, after a grueling fight. It was a very quick turnaround. So, these are the games that they play, strategic games or whatever, to try to jockey for position and get an advantage. Now, he beat him, gave up his belt like I told you he was going to, even though they said Beterbiev was easier. They said he's an easier opponent than Kovalev, whom they knocked out. Then why not fight Beterbiev at 175? That's a good fight, But why not fight Bivol, who's been calling you out for years? It's a bad look. But back at the 160 division, if he goes to 168 or fights at a catchweight, you already know what I feel about Canelo's excessive catchweights. But if he goes to 168, you had Charlo that you never got through, and Andrade, and you said you wanted undisputed at 160. Now all of a sudden that's not the mission. So Canelo didn't fight Charlo as mandatory and was franchised, became the franchise champion. De La Hoya is claiming some secret offer that nobody knows about up until yesterday, which would have exonerated his man when people were reaming Canelo for becoming the franchise champion and upset with that decision from the WBC. And now De La Hoya comes out with this. So it's just a bad look. I think Canelo's brand is continuing to lose some of the value that it had in its prime. And the only way to recover it is basically Canelo fighting a top-notch guy who has a chance that people want to see him fight. If he is at 168, we know it's not going to be Caleb Plant because he has an upcoming fight in Tennessee. David Benavidez would be a great fight, but I never even heard Canelo mention David Benavidez, so I highly doubt that. So, realistically, who's Canelo going to fight to lure onto DAZN with waning star power, waiting for UFC 244 to end? It's getting to the point where, like, all the A-side value and A-side leverage moves that Canelo's team is doing, it's going to be harder and harder to do that when Canelo is confined to an app. His weigh-in didn't look as impressive in terms of attendance as some of his previous fights. The numbers aren't coming out, so it's going to be hard to bogart people and play these A-side games, if you will, with Canelo's team and all these stipulations, rehydration clauses, when Canelo's star power continues to fade. So he's definitely in need of a big fight. Even the Jacobs fight, I had no problem with the fight being made. I thought that was a good fight. It didn't, as I mentioned earlier, live up to the expectation, but it looked, and I talked to people who went and covered the fight, media people. They said it didn't feel like a big fight week in Vegas. And I'm like, man, and that's the feeling I got from watching it at home. It didn't really feel like this massive deal. Like when, just when you have a big fight, like Floyd Mayweather fight weeks in Vegas were nuts. Everybody's going crazy. And come Thursday, it's just like Vegas is lit. You start to see the people pop up, Broners and Amir Khans, and it just got crazy in Vegas and packed, and all the rooms booked up and stuff at the casinos on the Strip. So we'll see. It's going to be important to see what Canelo does, but I don't like the fact that Black Murderers Row is existing at 160, like I told you, and you have Charlo and Andrade, and they keep getting left out from the party from guys like Triple G and Canelo, especially with Andrade being over there. You know, it's just, to me, it don't make sense. But let me know what you guys think if Canelo does stay at 168. Again, this is not in stone. De La Hoya is just merely saying it might be hard to go straight back down. And Canelo had to have known this. So it's like, why did you go to 175 to fight Kovalev anyway? Just to set your own history in a fight that didn't deliver, and you had to wait for UFC 245. You know, it just, to me, it wasn't a good look, because now you think that gets you at, it's like your mom picking you up at school, in elementary school, right? Your mom picks you up because you have a doctor's appointment. You're still responsible for getting with the classmate or talking with the teacher to see what assignments will be due on that Friday. You get what I'm saying? Just because you had a pulled from class to go to a doctor's appointment or something, it's still your responsibility to complete the curriculum of the course. You get what I'm saying? Just because you got pulled from class to go to a doctor's appointment doesn't mean that you're alleviated of completing the class assignment to pass the course. And that's the same thing. Is like, so why should Canelo be alleviated from having to fight at 160 against the guys we've been wanting to see him fight at 160? Also, two guys with the style to rival his that he could have fought at 154, 155 Canelo weight in Charlo and Andrade, because you made this random decision. And like, people aren't going to forget. Like they said on Superbad, people don't forget. You know, they're not going to forget because you made a rash decision after you said you wanted to be undisputed and unify 160. Now all of a sudden the mission's to go to 175, and then you don't stay there, and we're just supposed to forget it. You know, it's just bad planning. You know, now we're supposed to forget that you said you wanted to be undisputed middleweight champion, unified champion. Now he has all the built-in excuses of he can't make weight. He can't make 160. That's too hard for him. So now he has to fight guys at catch weights or try to bring him up to 168. You know, it's just foul. When he was at 160, he's short for the division. And especially if you don't fight top names at 168. Listen, if you fight someone like any of the guys I mentioned throughout all my videos, then that's good. Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, Zordo Ramirez. Oh, actually, he's at 175. So I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, because even a guy like Jose Uzcategui, at one point, I was like, okay, that's a good name, a solid name for him to fight. But Jose Uzcategui, not anymore, because he don't look the same since the Caleb Plant. I was at his last fight in Atlanta on the Gervonta Tank Davis Gamboa card, and you know, he lost. He didn't look good. So he's kind of out of the running. So, you know, who is Canelo going to fight at 168? You know, it's going to be something weird like Ryota Murata, Jeff Horn, or move somebody random up. We'll see. I can't wait till they announce Canelo's next opponent. We'll leave it at that, and then I'll give you some more content once they decide. But that's my 2 cents. Canelo at 168, that's great. But he really ran from the guys at 160 that he could fight. You know, he could fight Billy Joe Saunders. He's coming off a bad performance, so good luck with that. He could fight Caleb Smith. He's also coming off a bad performance. All these fights, based on the waiting and the waiting, this is just how it's played out. The DAZN curse has fully struck, because if you fight those guys, why not fight them when they're looking like monsters? Why fight them when they're coming off of bad performances? Floyd Mayweather fought some of, like, throughout the whole stage, the Money Mayweather stage, where people said he cherry picked, right? He fought undefeated Ricky Hatton. Victor Ortiz had just beaten Andre Berto. Shane Mosley had leveled Antonio Margarito, knocked him out. Cotto had just avenged his first loss to Antonio Margarito and stopped him, right? Pacquiao was on the win streak. Maidana had just thrashed Broner. That's when Floyd's fighting these people. You know, Conor McGregor even, I know he's not the, you know, true boxer, but even Conor McGregor had decimated Jose Aldo and Eddie Alvarez at the time Floyd fought him. Canelo stays fighting people with stipulations and or off of bad performances, like Kovalev. He was off of bad performance. James Kirkland, he was off of a war with Glenn Tapia, didn't have Ann Wolfe, and was on a year-plus layoff. No type of momentum. This has to be a strategy, right? Let me know what you guys think. If you love what I'm doing, smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.